People are actually finally riding Cosmic Rewind. We're going to talk about that tonight. We have a first-hand account of how it is. We're going to talk a little bit about Universal tonight and finish up with all the park news that you're going to need to know tonight on ParksCenter. Welcome to ParksCenter for May 8th, 2022. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside, and happy Mother's Day to everybody who's out there who is a mother. And if you forgot that today was Mother's Day, well, man, I can't help you at this point. Tonight we are going to be talking first about Epcot. Then we're going to move on to Universal, and then we're going to end with some parks news. So please give us a thumbs up. It helps people to find the show. If you have not already, please subscribe to WDWNT on YouTube for many great shows. And let me introduce you to our panel for tonight. The first group of folks we got talking, Shannon is over here. Hi, Shannon.
Hello.
We have Kamila back.
Hi, everyone.
And fresh off a trip to space, Eric Morton.
Happy Mother, but mostly happy Mother's Day to my mom, who is definitely not watching this show.
Wow.
Me too.
Oh, does nobody's mother watch this show?
That would require me explaining to my mom how to set up her YouTube notifications and her account set up right. Next thing you know, I'm.
I understand. So tonight we have a lot to cover, but one of the things we're going to start talking about is Epcot. Epcot has gone through a big, what I guess the buzzword is reimagining. I guess dumpster fire doesn't really cut it for all the press, so we're going to say reimagining. A lot of us are Epcot fans from the late 80s, early 90s Epcot, and loved what it was then. It's changed over the years, and it's gone through this really big, huge war zone of change that has fluctuated back and forth. And we had a lot of news recently, especially because there was a press event this week or last week at Disney World for Cosmic Rewind that just opened or is opening on May 27th. But also to show off a lot of other things that we're going to be talking about tonight. And they even showed some concept art. But the first thing we want to do is we want to talk about Cosmic Rewind because, and I got to say that, and Shannon and I were talking about this pre-show, we're trying to stay away from spoilers, but it's hard to tell people what you think of something if you can't experience it. So, just be aware that there are going to be a lot of spoilers, especially from the man in that bottom corner tonight. So Cosmic Rewind is in official previews now. We have AP previews, DVC previews, Club 33. So we actually have some footage of the attraction on our website. There was a huge press event out there, so we learned a lot of things like the disability access service is actually going to be only you're going to have to be part of the virtual queue, and we also heard that there's going to be virtual queue for this, which I think we didn't think there was going to be virtual queue going into this, so I want to talk about all that, but I think first and foremost we need to talk about the attraction. Eric, you were there just today. Tell us about your experience. I mean, thumbs up, thumbs down, what are you feeling?
So, first of all, I think it's important to look at this attraction in the context of its own thing. So, if we want to have this broader conversation of what's been done to Epcot, we loved that we had in the 80s and 90s. We loved, Horizons and all these other things. I get it. This ride, though, I just want to talk about it as a standalone thing, that it's its own ride. We went today, and I don't know where to start. I think I'll start with the one question that's not a spoiler. I don't think this is a spoiler, that everyone probably is interested in. Is this thing going to make me sick? I personally am not a person who likes backwards on roller coasters. I don't like Expedition Everest is like 2 seconds too long of going backward for me. Even Hagrid's over at Universal. Just don't like going backwards. And this very famously does have a backward launch. I don't think that if you're motion sick, if you're prone to motion sickness, I think you can give this a shot and still be okay. I'm not positive. I can't speak for everybody, but to me, it seemed like at no point did I feel like, I'm getting a little motion sick here. I think that's important to just lead off with right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, because there are a lot of people who love the Guardians IP and want to be able to do it. Same as Harry Potter. There are a lot of people who love Harry Potter, and you've got all these high-end thrill rides that are Harry Potter. And I know, for instance, I rode Hagrid's with Tom, and we rode it once, and that one goes backwards. And then we went back on it again, and then I thought to myself, if he says let's go a third time, I'm going to have to bow out. And when we got
You're
off
in
the
the
second
same spot as me.
yeah, and when we got off the second time, he was like, you know what? I think I can only handle it twice. And I was like, whew, I didn't have to play the wimp card on that one. So for you, do you think, like you're talking about, you think people can handle it? Do you think you could do it 2-3 times in a row, or do you think that would be too much for you?
I did.
You did?
I did. It was fine. I felt fine. Our only problem was everyone in our party, we started the day at Rose and Crown. Everyone in our party had to go to the bathroom, and there was not a bathroom inside of the checkpoint where the pass holders would go. There wasn't Wonders of Xandar bathroom, so I still don't know how Xandarians go to the bathroom. I'm curious to find out. Gift shop was closed. Maybe they'll have a bathroom that wasn't open that I didn't see, but we kind of had to hold it if we wanted to keep going on subsequent rides. I didn't feel at any time like this is a ride that's going to get someone sick. This is not, and you think about the race and roller coasters recently has been, this, you can start with your Cedar Fair or Cedar Point type of coasters where it's bigger, faster, taller, more extreme. Even Velocicoaster, though it's not that tall, is very fast, a lot of intense movement. Even Hagrid's has a drop, and you go backwards at some point in time. This is not like this. This is more kind of smooth and fun. There are accelerations in this ride, but they don't feel extreme. At no point do you feel like they're just trying to make this go as fast as I can take. It doesn't feel like that at all. It's very smooth and almost graceful, I guess you could say. The ride system is very innovative. And I, for one, am happy to see that we can have innovation in roller coasters without just saying, well, screw it, we're gonna make this thing go 600 feet tall and go 200 miles. This is great. Just have things that are innovative ride systems that everyone can enjoy. Because I know a lot of people,
excuse me, sorry,
are pretty sensitive with
No, I honestly, I love Velocicoaster, but I think that's what it is. It's how many twists and turns can we do to make this more than it was before, right? Like you said, go 600 feet up or 150 miles an hour or whatever. So it is neat to see that there, like you said, there can be some stuff. The motion sickness thing, when I see this was the test footage that came out of it ahead of time. I look at this and go, Eric, you're a liar. How could this not be motion sickness when you're turning left and right like that? But you're saying it's not. You don't.
I'll say one thing is notice when the ride vehicle turns.
Oh, sorry.
It turns into the center of the direction you're going. It turns to the center of the curve. I think that helps. I think it was going the other way, and you see the scenery blowing by you, as opposed to now you focus on there's a segment where there's and you kind of look, you're kind of tilted down at it and going around, and you're not pulling as hard, and the movement doesn't feel fast because it's not zipping by in front of your eyes. You're kind of just looking at it as you go around it. I think that's helpful. And I'll say, I don't want to compare this to Alien Swirling Saucers, which admittedly is one of the worst rides at Disney World. But the giggle factor for this coaster is off the chart. And my friends that were riding with me could not stop laughing and hooting and hollering and just having a blast. It just hits all those notes where it's not so extreme that you're screaming your head off like maybe on Velocicoaster. They're just laughing and giggling. You're moving along. You're moving quickly, right? It's not like there's no point Mine Train where you just slow down to a crawl. You're always for the most part, you're moving at a brisk pace, but it's fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's lighthearted. The music is great. I know you'll see a lot of comparisons. A lot of people compare this to Space Mountain. It's a next case. There are projections on side that are like stars, like you're in space. So from that perspective, it's kind of like Space Mountain. If I had to compare it to a Space Mountain, it would be the Space Mountain at Disneyland, where there's fun music playing. It's a little more upbeat and not so dark, but at the same time, it's its own thing, right? Because of this ride system, you are kind of swooping and going into these movements, and you kind of lean down and look, but you just have a lap bar. You don't have a shoulder harness. You don't feel at any time like you're pulling a bunch of G. You're just, flying along. I think it was a pleasant ride experience.
I love that your immediate giggle factor comparison is alien swirling saucers.
Oh God, my girlfriend cannot keep it together on that ride. She laughs hysterically, and I'm like, "This is the worst ride ever," and she can't stop giggling.
Shannon, let me go to you on this one.
So the ride has.
Go ahead. No, finish your thought. All right, so we'll go to you on this one, Shannon. I want to ask you, like, as he's talking about it, does it make you want to ride it more or less?
More. And I have been hearing the same things, that it's smooth. And the music is probably one of the bigger factors that excites me about this attraction. Because I would consider myself a fair weather fan of Guardians of the Galaxy.
How dare
Seeing
you?
the movies, I think me at times, but it's not something that I want to rewatch over and over again, which is why I was a little more reserved in my excitement. He spoke, but yeah, it all sounds like a fun time, and we'll take anything new in Epcot at this point.
True.
Yes.
Yeah, Kamila, again, you've ridden Guardians Tower a bunch of times, I'm sure. I mean, Shannon said the music actually makes that thing so much better, I think. Are you hoping for the same thing when you go out here?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a really big deal for Epcot. I see all the time families skipping Epcot altogether because they just don't think there's anything there that warrants them spending a day there. And so, instead they'll double up on Magic Kingdom or they'll double up on Animal Kingdom. And I think what Disney is trying to do with a lot of this Epcot overhaul is make it more appealing to a broader range of people. Yes, there are the Epcots, which, I'm sure many of us watching would consider ourselves that. But I think the reality is Disney was struggling to get people to go to this park. And so I think, the really strong reviews that we're getting so far out of this new ride, it's IP, which, more casual fans, I think, there's a lot that is going to work out really nicely for Disney. And what a great thing that, it seems to include a ride that's actually very good.
Yeah. So let me ask you back, Eric, on this one. You mentioned, because you did the annual pass holder preview, right?
Right.
And so there was annual pass holder, and then there's going to be DVC and D23. For the annual pass holder, you were able to ride it more than once?
Yeah, I met people in there. They were riding it for their fourth time. So
Okay.
yeah, you could. We just had to leave the kind of area that they had roped off to hit the bathroom, or we could have ridden more, because you're kind of inside the courtyard for the preview. So from the courtyard is where you enter the ride. It's no problem. So that was nice.
Okay.
I know. No, I tried. We wanted to try to hit all. We got Disco Inferno the first time around, and we got. I just went blank. Blondie. We got Blondie the second time.
Was it Call Me, or was it?
No, I'll remember later. Don't worry
Okay.
about it.
Cool.
What's Blondie? What is Blondie?
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure there's Blondie in there. I think we talked about it last week. We gave the list of songs and said that 9 to 5 is the only one that we had heard rumor of that actually didn't end up showing up in there somewhere. But I love that it's not the same soundtrack from the one that we have out in California, because I think that would be kind of disappointing, especially with all of the music options you've got in Guardians 1, 2, and hopefully in 3. So with riding this thing, it sounds like the attraction itself is very fun. The experience, and I guess again,
One way or another. That was the song. One way or another.
and he comes in. He comes in with one way or another. Cool. So
Chad,
that
yeah, thanks, Chad. Thanks,
the
Don.
the thing that with the with the experience for the rest of it, though, it's supposed to be the Xandar Pavilion, the world of Xandar. Does it feel like that, or does it just feel like a short queue and a cool ride?
So a couple things. Number one, the queue moved pretty quick. The amount of people in there. They have two different loading areas for the ride. So So we were at no point were we just kind of standing still. You go through when you first enter the pavilion. There's a big lobby. There's not a whole lot going on. It's beautiful the way it's laid out with walkways and ramps, kind of these concentric spirals going up. And in the ceiling, there's projection of planets and things on it. But there's nothing on the walls. The walls are just painted like, I think, blue. There's some texture on the walls as you get further. You're going up these ramps, and then they have areas that are more. So out there, they're kind of telling you about Xandar, and then you get into like little exhibits, little like maquettes, little models of cities and things like that. And they even have a bit of Walt introducing the Epcot Pavilion, which I really like. Even that might be a little meta, but I really liked it. And there's scenes of the Guardians talking, and a couple little exhibits of what Xandar's like, their uniforms and what their ranks are, and things like that on the mannequins. Then you eventually herded into like kind of a pre-show room, and in that pre-show, this first pre-show, you get in there and I think, is that where Terry Crews talks? It could be, and then you go through a second pre-show room, and that one, I could kind of predict this when I saw it. Close your ears if you don't want spoilers for pre-show, but it had those walls. Those walls are going to be. Those walls are going to disappear, and then there's going to be something cool, and that's exactly what it turned out to be. Kind of like Poseidon's Fury. You ever do Poseidon's Fury at Universal, where like the walls just disappear, and you're in this big room. Same thing, end of Imagination, where you get the blast of air, and then the walls are gone, and they're singing like that, but it's massive, and it's very evocative of the hangar scene in Rise of the Resistance. It looks kind of like the hangar, so a giant panoramic window looking out into space, and then you kind of understand, oh, something kind of went wrong, and we got a mission to do, and we've been beamed up to this ship, and really from there on, your mission is going to be to get on a roller coaster that goes through a wormhole. And after that, I wasn't super clear on what was happening. I know at one point at the very beginning, we got the thing we came here to get, and then the rest is just a ride. So the story was a little whatever. Once you get on the ride, you're just having the music is great, and you do get to see the big projections of this celestial and of this stuff that's going on, but it's not super clear what happened. It's kind of like Runaway, right? Where they're just like, okay, we made it. And you're like, all right, we made it. We did it. Imagine that.
You know what? It was funny when Tom was working on the 50th anniversary show, the Golden Jamboree. He asked us, like, name some Disney attractions where things go horribly wrong. All of them? Like, that's kind of the theme with most of them. Like, oh, the train detached from Goofy, or the Great Movie Ride where the gangster takes over, and everything seems to be that seems to be the theme of any of these attractions. That something goes horribly wrong.
I don't want to ruin this attraction for anyone. Things go beginning, and then things get righted at the end, and there's like a party.
A party, like
like
Fast and Furious.
Okay, everyone's happy. Yeah. People are asking in the chat, by the way, GoPros. So if you look, we have a video of the full ride, the queue, the POV ride, everything. I saw plenty of people with cameras on there.
David says
Universal is like, put everything in a locker and just bring on whatever you got.
Oh, that's good. David said, not Small World, nothing goes wrong. Okay.
They all die and you go to heaven, right? That's kind of...
Yes, exactly. Utopia. That's where Utopia exists. So again, I feel like there's a ton of stuff we could ask you, but I also don't want to give away too many more spoilers for it. But I will ask you this: do you think? Let me ask you this in terms of time, because time is money, time is valuable. How much time would Eric Morton, now that you've ridden this, stand in line for this attraction?
It's hard to say. Like, it's the best ride at Epcot, right? So. Even though with the line out, into the courtyard and everything, the line didn't take too long. It was pretty efficient. I don't know what the ride capacity is. We were fortunate that it didn't break down while we were there. I know some people experienced some downtime when they were waiting. It seems to move along pretty well, but I think there's reasonable time. Some people will wait. I mean, I've waited 3 hours for Flight of Passage before, and I didn't mind. It was I thought the queue in this place was enjoyable. The air conditioning was get into building, I'll sit still for a while. You know?
Let me ask you a question, and I'm sure we'll hear it later. Did Tom like it?
I actually do not know. I didn't speak to Tom. Tom was ahead of me in the line. Imagine that. I know that we are editing a video right now of his thoughts, about 40 minutes long, and I'm like 10 minutes into it. So I don't know, because, of course, Tom's going to take a holistic approach to dissecting this ride, which is going to include its place. Like, why is this where it is? What did Epcot used to be about? What is it about now? Is this thing, is this kind of parody pavilion idea in Epcot, things like that? I haven't actually gotten to his feelings about the ride. I'll just tell you, it's a lot of fun. I'm not going to say it's the best ride I've ever been on, but I was riding with several people that thought it was the best ride at Disney World, and that really had a blast and would.
That's awesome to hear. Was JoJo Siwa one of the people you were riding with that thought it was the best attraction that they had ever been on? Because she sure looks like this is the best attraction she's ever been on.
Well, she's wearing a best day ever shirt, so there's her ride review right there.
I'm sorry. I feel like her pronouns are they. I may have screwed that up. I'm sorry.
I don't actually know, but
yeah. So
there's a best day ever shirt there.
There is a best day ever shirt there, which is probably not from the park.
You don't.
I feel like that's from
wear
Etsy.
That for any reason. Wear it if it's the best day ever. Otherwise, you're just a lie.
Yes, it's just a series of lies. You're right. So Kamila, do you think there are people who are booking their trip to Disney around this, that this is a big enough deal that they're like, man, I'm not going till Guardians is open?
You know what I will say? I don't know. I'm sure there will be some people who will book their trip around this, but I think there will be more people who bother staying on site to have a better chance of getting in the virtual queue or getting a lightning lane, because, those 7 a.m. lightning lane times play a factor. And I certainly think there's going to be a lot more. Start to include Epcot in their. I mean, it's pretty common working with families where it's the first time they're going to Disney, or, they haven't been in, 5-6 years, whatever it is. So many people skip Epcot, which I think is so sad, such a mistake. It's fantastic. And I actually think its reputation, it really is family friendly. So I hope that more people give Epcot a chance, get to check out this ride, but also everything else that Epcot has to offer. I really do think it's
very cool. You mentioned the virtual queue, and I think somebody asked in the chat. Yeah, we've been told that this is going to be a virtual queue attraction. You either do virtual queue or you pay money, and that's it. Those are your two options. There will be no standby when it first launches. And I think, Eric, part of that situation, according to this blog that I read, wdwnt.com, is that there have been a lot of technical issues, and that may be why they're going virtual queue from the beginning rather than doing standby. Do you feel like after riding that's the case?
I don't know. I will say this, and there are people that know a lot more about roller coasters than me. Technically, it's that complicated of a system, right? So number one, it does have a backward launch, but that launch, at no point do you switch. What happens is you're going forward, you stop towards the beginning, and all the ride vehicles just spin around on their axis, and you're facing slowly. They just turn around on their axis. You're facing backwards, and then it launches. So it's not like they have an articulated track that has to be moved back and forth. There's a lot of projectors inside, and there's music on the ride vehicle. I don't know that it's such a complicated system, but with any system, surely they're gonna have problems at the beginning. People have asked. They spent $500 million on this. I think. Where? I don't know the answer to that. I know the pre-show and the queue area is beautiful and looks expensive. I don't know. The rest is it could be that they could put that ride vehicle dummy, and it could be a very similar ride, right? It's not like a groundbreaking coaster vehicle itself. I don't know how that would cause prolonged.
Yeah. Do you know how much a bucket of Go Away Green and Sky Blue paint costs? I mean, that's probably why they had to put all that blue paint on that building. That is a lot of blue paint.
That's a lot of blue paint.
That is a lot of blue paint. Yeah. So one of the other things that has opened with this, because you don't open a Disney attraction without opening a gift shop There is a gift shop. There are a lot of interesting looking gifts, but as I'm looking into it, I'm wondering if Eric bought one of these Star-Lord jackets for his
Gift
very
shop was
own.
closed, bro.
What?
Gift shop was closed.
No. Oh, that's disappointing. Okay. Well, I mean,
That jacket is pretty fly.
yeah, I think it's going to really look good on you, as a matter of fact. So when I'm looking through this,
Sure.
though, there is a ton there's a ton of merch to be coming for this one. I Am Groot, some really cool Zandarian outfits, some blankets, and the typical Disney. We've got mugs, we've got backpacks, etc., etc. But a lot of this stuff looks really cool. So I can't wait to see Tom's haul video where he buys every piece of this stuff and then shows it off. So very neat. One of the things I wanted to talk about in addition to this attraction is that there was some concept art that it came out, and again, probably because of the press event that happened, they came out with some concept art and some more explanation of what Epcot is going to be, because it got changed a little bit from what we were told originally, that in that lower left quadrant there was going to be a full size, like, multi-story festival center, and now there's going to be a building which is going to share the name of a building that was demolished. It's going to be Communicore, which is very interesting to me. And then on top of that, there's going to be like a meet and greet area and a fountain. And I think the big joke for us is that, like, okay, so they took a building and a meet and greet area and a fountain and demolished it, and they were replacing it with a building, a meet and greet area, and a fountain.
Don't forget the light up sidewalk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and that's one of the things that I think a lot of people were excited about coming back, is that the light up sidewalk is coming back, because there was a time where it started getting cracks, it stopped working. Would it work? Would it not? But that was something that a lot of people really remember and love from that. So Shannon, you've looked at this concept art a little bit. Are you like, yay, this is exciting? They're kind of doing throwback, or you're like, Disney, what are you doing?
I honestly think it's a marketing ploy at this point that they're keeping the dirt there so long, because I've forgotten what we lost. So this is great. Moral of the story. I love all the foliage. I love the sidewalks are coming, but it does pain me that we lost that festival center, because I think it could have had multiple functions during the day, but like as an event space, because I think that's something that Epcot lacks, like having that elevation to watch it. Spectacular. But all in all, I'm not mad at what they're bringing back to life, because we're just all tired of staring at that dirt.
Yeah, you're right. You make a great point that what we've had has been gone for so long. We were desperate to get anything back, and when it sounds like it's not going to be just like I thought it was going to be a flat surface. When they said they were getting rid of the festival center from the budget, they weren't going to do that. There was just going to be a flat surface. At least they're building something there. But one of the other things that we got as part of this concept art was kind of a look, or at least a closer look, of what Moana Journey of Water might actually look like. I've been jokingly call it, Moana Journey of Dirt, because all we've seen are piles of dirt. We've never seen any concept art other than the initial, entrance way to it. And I think, Eric, we talked about all this last week on ParksCenter about what is it they're building here, and it looks like this is the only thing we've seen, and it's like, okay, here's a cool thing that we've torn up half the entranceway for, and it's coming soon, and now we actually get a look at something
Is that from the Polynesian lobby?
Is that what? Yeah, the Polynesian lobby.
Is that from the old Polynesian lobby?
Yep, absolutely. Here we see like some jumping water over top of you, and some, it looks very neat. It looks very, interactive, which I guess is what we want. Now that they've solved the pandemic problem, we can be interactive again, theoretically. But I mean, it looks like, and I talked about this last week, it looks like Redwood Creek at DCA. The whole, just you kind of weave in and out of it. Those big things of the archways above the water, the waterways above the path. Kamila, when I look at those, I think of all the promises that you and I believed in with the barges, that those fountains really were going to look good, and they really were going to work. I don't know if you've looked at the concept art or not, but what do you think?
I mean, I think it looks really great. I feel like concept art Disney concept art especially always looks really great. So we'll see, how it looks when everything is done. But I agree completely with Shannon. It'll be just so exciting when, walls come down and, we have some of these areas completed, because right now it's kind of so uninspired, especially because it's right when, you first walk into the park. The other thing I will say, and this will kind of tie into some thoughts I have later about the May the 4th and the Star Wars night celebrations, I hope that Disney gives us something a bit more than just pretty scenery, because I think they've proven, this areas that are visually stunning, but are you just walking through? And, you talked about the area at DCA, which, you ignore it 9 times out of 10. And the only time I've ever to walk during the Oogie Boogie Bash when it's completely done up, stunning. And so I need Disney to give us a little bit more than just pretty spaces, because I think they need to give us something to do, and not something to buy, not something to eat, something to do. So I'll leave it there.
Wow. This rant brought to you by the Vacationeer. I'm just kidding. But no, you're right. You're right. And it's, I love that. I love that fresh take on that, is that, hey, give us something different, because I think I've gotten to the point where I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, hey, there's a new food place like Woody's Lunchbox. The expansion of it, great. I'm excited. The Roundup Barbecue it looks like it's been like duct taped together. Sure. Give me something rather than give me nothing. But it feels like over time they've raised the rates on everything. They've taken away a whole bunch of stuff, and then they've kind of cuffed us with the park passes. And it's just like, are we guests or are we prisoners? Like, what are we really here? Because it really feels like they're just beating us up because we are just in love with the core product. Not necessarily what they're putting out now, but with the core product. So with all that said, I want to close out this segment of the Epcot discussion and ask each of you this question. I kind of teed this up for you a little bit before the show, but when I sit around with like my kids and we talk about the Disney parks in Florida, excuse me, a lot of times we'll rank them and say, okay, right now this is my favorite park. It's it's Hollywood Studios because of this, or it's Animal Kingdom because of this. Where, and I'm going to start with Shannon and go around to Kamila. Where does Epcot stand for you right now, as far as 1 through 4 parks, and why is it in that position right now?
Epcot for me remains second behind Magic Kingdom, and it's because of World Showcase. World Showcase, it's gone down a few notches because of those barges. But overall, I typically stay in the Epcot resort area. So walking into Epcot is something that I do often. And although the front of the park has been a mess for quite some time, I'm super upset as what's, been happening. Very fun. I don't really care for Moana, but I think it's really gone down or up for me.
Did you just say the words, I don't really care for Moana? Who hurt you? Oh my gosh.
Not Moana herself. I love Moana. I think that attraction is in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Okay, same question for you, Eric, and maybe it's higher now that you've ridden Cosmic Rewind.
I don't know. The park is still horribly broke right now, right? We're missing like the whole center core of the park. Hollywood Studios right now is very broken, though. I have this affinity for Hollywood Studios that is hard. There's a lot of stuff wrong with that park now that's also hard for me to ignore. Magic Kingdom is my clear one. Epcot and Hollywood Studios are probably tied for second. But now, until this attraction opens and until they finish construction around Epcot, that it comes in behind Hollywood Studios. So Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, Epcot, and Animal Kingdom.
Ooh. Animal Kingdom and bringing up the rear.
I know people that love Animal Kingdom love it. I do love Animal Kingdom, but I just don't get there that often. It feels like more of a chore to go to Animal Kingdom than it does to go to other parks, maybe just because of where I live.
Interesting. And Kamila?
Yeah, for me, Epcot is my number one. If I've only got, one day, if I can only visit one park, that's the place that I'm going to go. For me, it's like exactly the right pace. I love the aquarium. Like, I love to do the Nemo ride and then just spend time in the aquarium looking at the giant turtles and all the cool. There's so much there, and the fact that you can just kind of casually walk, quote unquote, around the world and, drink and eat and sit and people watch. But if you want to go on, a casual ride, like I love Spaceship Earth. So for me, it really is kind of the perfect balance and my ideal theme park day.
Awesome. Okay, so thank you guys for the discussion about Epcot. What we're going to do next is we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to cut Eric loose, and thank you for giving us your first-hand account, man. It really helps us to feel like we've kind of been there and what to look forward to. So thanks for doing that. When we come back, we're going to talk about Universal with our good friend Annie, and then we'll be back at the back end of the show to talk all the rest of the news that's come out with Disney parks in the past week. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Welcome to News Today with Universal Parks News Today. I'm Tom Corliss. Here now the news.
Thanks again for being with us tonight on ParksCenter, and again, happy Mother's Day to those of you who've just tuned in to us. We are going to be talking a little bit about Universal with our good friend Annie from Universal Parks News Today. How are you, Annie?
Good. Before we start talking about Universal, I just want to mention my mom watches the show. So happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Nice. Happy Mother's Day, Annie's mom. Well, that's good. That's good news. So you and I talked about there's been a ton of stuff happening in Universal recently, and so I appreciate you coming back on and talking to us about it. There's almost too much to cover, but I kind of want to go through a little bit of a punch list here of stuff that we talked about ahead of time. So one of the things that I know isn't really necessarily a you thing, because you cover the one in Florida, but there's been an announcement that there's going to be possibly a Fast and the Furious coaster coming to Universal Studios Hollywood, and I know that you have some connection with the Fast and Furious Supercharge that exists in Florida. But my thing about this is, when I first rode this, I went, "Oh, this is just the one in Florida." I was like, "This is just the tram attraction from California put into a building. Why wouldn't they have done a roller coaster? Because it's the Fast and the Furious." So, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Are you excited about that being a possibility? Do you agree it's something that should have been done a long time ago?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the name is Fast and Furious, and the ride is not fast at all here. So I think a lot of people expected a test track type of ride, a coaster, something fast. So to ride on a party bus was very disappointing. So knowing that there's a potential of it being a coaster out in California sounds great. And just reading a little bit on it, might rotate a little bit. So I'll be interested to see if it's similar to Guardians over at Epcot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be it's well past time that we've had some sort of an attraction with Fast and Furious that goes Fast and Furious rather than a party bus. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm excited to have that happen, but at the same time, I would have loved it if, I don't know, they had built that from scratch from the beginning in Florida. That would have been a cool thing to do. The parade.
There was so much room here that was just kind of wasted on the attraction. You know, I'm not trying to totally knock it. There are a few people that enjoy it, but
I'd like to talk to those people. If you can find them for me, that would be great. I'd like to have a conversation with them because I mean, it's all right, but you're right. It is a huge waste of space in a park that doesn't have a ton of space to give. So I agree. So I was leading into this is that the Universal Superstar Parade, the rumor is that this is set to end this month. You know, one of the things that I think is cool about Universal is they did a bunch of things before Disney did. You know, they don't do park passes. They opened the parks first after COVID. They had the meet and greets back first, the parades back first, and this one's going away. What do you think that's going to mean to the park, and will you miss it?
Personally, I'm excited to see something new, potentially. I don't expect to be seeing anything new before next year because it sounds like, you know, we're going to roll right into Halloween Horror Nights and then the Christmas parade. And so I wouldn't expect anything to end this month. And then meet and greets with those characters will continue through August. But, you know, characters like Dora the Explorer, I don't know if that kids or adults even relate to, you know, Bob, you know, everyone loves SpongeBob, but some of the, you know, the characters and things are a little dated and could probably use, you know, something fresh. So I'm excited to see the changes. I know a lot of people are probably heartbroken, have, you know, attached to the parade, but
well, you know, and that's one of the things with Universal is that they don't usually dwell on nostalgia. I mean, other than E.T., there's nothing really original to that park that still exists. So I think when they feel like something's done, they move on. However, when we were watching that Christmas parade and they had all that Shrek stuff, I was like, this feels dated. You know, I mean, Shrek hasn't been a thing in a minute, and obviously Shrek 4D is closing. We'll talk about that in a second. But I agree. It looks like it could use a refresh. I mean, to me, I have no nostalgia for this particular parade. I just like that they've had parades. So you think they'll bring one back?
I hope so. But again, they have the Christmas parade and the Mardi Gras parade, so I would assume there's going to be some other parade, you know, at some point in time. But when, we don't know for sure.
Gotcha. One of the things that you talked about with us on an episode of ParksCenter was we were talking about annual passes and comparing annual passes from one to the next, and, you know, Disneyland versus Disney World versus Universal. And I think by the end of that conversation, you had everybody bought into it, buy a Universal Orlando annual pass because of the value of it, because of what they have for perks. And it looks like that they have announced a lot more perks coming, including more magnets, which is cool. I love magnets. I'm a sucker for a magnet. And so when you put together a magnet, I'm going to be there and try to pick it up. But like the dining room spaces and the menu items are things, and even this extra entrance that they're going to have are all things that I look at and go, wow, like they really seem to treat their pass holders well. I mean, do you have any other insights into this stuff? And when did it all launch on May 3rd? Is that when that happened, or no, not yet?
Yeah, it's all going on right now. It's going on through, I think, May 26th. And again, the pass holder entrance, which is great, especially in the morning, we're lined up and you just kind of walk right by and, you know, go off to the left. It's a completely different area. They also had team members, people before they got in the line. So, you know, that was one thing that I've noticed at the other theme parks for annual pass holder entrances is everyone just gets in the line and it doesn't seem like very, like, you know, exclusive. Whereas this, you really feel like you see groups separating and the group going towards the pass holder lines, like, okay, see you inside, you know. And so it's a cool experience, you know, it's fun.
Kind of like me and TSA pre with my family. Bye. I have TSA pre. I don't have to go take off my shoes and all this other stuff. So that was a question I had too, is because sometimes if you've got a group, like for some of these things, I think when you go into the the meals, you can bring other people, right, if you're an annual pass holder, but for the entrance itself, you have to go in by yourself unless you're an AP, right?
Yeah, and you can bring people people into the dining, which is to show people the perks of being an annual pass holder and just say, you can upgrade if you like what you see up here. So.
The meal things, like the separate eating areas, like the one they had over Confisco for a while, and the one that they had, I think it was at Lombard's. Those are the things that I look at, and I like exclusive. Like, that's a big thing for me, is to be able to get something that no one else can get, and that's one of the problems that I have, like, with DVC, is that, like, you're paying for exclusive, but then also everybody else, like, gets it first, and so you have nothing. It can be kind of devastating sometimes. So are these spaces where you can get in and, like, exclusively, again, like the Lombards, are they hard to get into, or is that usually something that's not a problem?
I've never had a problem. It's pretty easy. There's a lot more than you think up in some of these spaces. Lombard's is actually pretty big. There's outdoor seating, there's indoor seating, same with Confisco. The outdoor seating is great. You can see Velocicoaster. It's got like a nice breeze, covered. You got some shade. I love those. And I know that a lot of times they know me. They see me in the park, see me come, and they know I want to sit there. But I don't think it's too hard. As long as you flash that pass, then you're good.
Why do I imagine you just roll VIP when you walk into Universal? It's like, Joe, what's up? Karen, how's it hang? Like, just over. Like, I just picture you just walking in like you own the joint.
I love there's so many people that make me that we're coworkers. Like, hey, good morning. Welcome to work. Yeah, you too. It's great. I really do love the team. I want to give a shout out there. It's very, very kind to me, so I do appreciate that.
That's awesome. All right, Annie, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us about Universal. Don't forget to check her out on YouTube and then also on Universal Parks. It's universalparksnewstoday.com for all of your Universal Parks questions. Like I said, she's royalty there, so make sure that you follow her, and she'll show you the ropes along the way. So thank you so much for being with us. Thanks, Annie's mom, for being in the audience tonight, and we'll be back in a second. We're going to be taking one more commercial break, and we'll be back to talk about some more Disney news. So don't go anywhere. We appreciate you sticking around. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Deep in the Plus. Each week, join host Rob Whiteside and a panel of Disney superfans as they take a different movie or TV show from the Disney Plus catalog, tell you its history, details, give their review, and let you know if it's worth your time. Current shows, classic movies, and everything in between. Watch Deep in the Plus live Tuesday nights at 9 Eastern for new episodes. Or catch Deep in the Plus anytime on YouTube at unplannedDowntime.com.
Woo! Welcome back to ParksCenter. Sorry we've been having some technical difficulties tonight. I think we are on the mend here, though, folks. So let me bring the panel in and do a quick test. Shannon, you still with us?
Good.
Okay. Kamila?
I'm here.
And now we got Coach with us. Coach, what's going on, buddy?
It's game time. How we doing? My shirt represents the glitches.
The glitches. Yeah, this is a real Vanellope Von Sweets kind of a situation. But I think we are over the hump, the hurdle. So again, thank you guys for sticking with us along the way. We appreciate it. So one of the things we didn't get a chance to do at the top of the show is to talk about news. We had all this Epcot stuff to talk about, and we didn't get to talk about news, including Star Wars stuff. There was a lot of Star Wars stuff that happened last week, so much so that it was just blowing my mind and made me sick that I couldn't be in the parks absorbing all of it. But I know, Kamila, you were there for some of it. So let's start first with some of the stuff from let me ask you first. So there was May the 4th, which is Star Wars Day. But then there were also Star Wars Nights, and that was on May the 3rd, May the 4th, and there's going to be another one on May 27th. We've talked before about how great Disneyland events are. How amazing was this hard-ticketed event compared to something else? Tell us how great it was and how much we missed out on.
You know what? I really want to be able to say that it was amazing. I think there were some really nice touches. And I don't know necessarily how high the bar really is for Disney to put on an event like this. But I think what I struggled with when it came to this event is that I don't know that there was anything that was necessarily special about the actual event itself, meaning anything that was unique or special about Star Wars Night compared to if you visited, with the day ticket or as a day guest. Because if you think about it, so you had Hyperspace Mountain, which is like a Star Wars overlay on Space Mountain, which was fantastic, but that's not specific to Star Wars Night. Something I did definitely notice, Tomorrowland itself was really festive. That felt like the epicenter, not Batuu, where a lot of things were happening. And something cool that I caught at the Star Wars Night event was Captain Phasma and the Stormtroopers March. That was actually really cool, and I'm glad I caught that. The fireworks were pretty short. I don't know that that was anything too spectacular. And then the other thing that I noticed about the Star Wars Night event compared to just being there as a day guest, a lot of the treats that were available were actually available during the day. And by the time the event actually started, a lot of the specialty treats had actually sold out. So everything that I had my eye on that I was thinking like, oh, I'll just wait till the event actually starts, and that's when I can go get it. By the time I made it to like Docking Bay 7 or the milk stand to get the chocolate chip cookie, that was all sold out. And so you just kind of started to be like, is it better to just go as a day guest, or was there something about the event that was special? And what stands out to me, Batuu felt dead. Star Wars Launch Bay is where they had all the merch. So if you wanted, any merch from this event, you had to be able to either get in that long line, which they cut off after a point and turned it into virtual queue only, and they turned that off as well. So there was a good chance that you couldn't even, get in to see the merch, buy the merch, and the only place they had it was Star Wars Launch Bay, which to me felt also uninspired. And so I think where I was struggling with this event is I just didn't see the value in the event itself. Yes, there were a ton of characters, but those lines were also long. And if you chose to wait in those, that's about all you were able to do. And I will say, I saw some people complaining about the fact that Rise was down pretty much right from the start of the event. They did say that, it wasn't guaranteed Rise was going to be open or available for this. But I felt like they could have done more with it. And I think Disney really, like for Batuu itself, they need to figure out something to do similar to what I said earlier, besides just being able to go and buy a lightsaber, go and make a droid, go and eat. It feels like a really visually stunning shopping mall. And I want to see more. And what was interesting, you saw so many people with lightsabers. It was lightsaber city. But there's nothing to do with that lightsaber. You just have it and you're waving it around. But it's just kind of ridiculous. Like have Jedi training, have droid races, do something and stop putting everything behind a paywall of, oh, you've got this droid, well now here's a new version of a droid that you can buy next. I can't stand that about Disney, and it's one of the things that separates Universal's Wizarding World, where you can buy a wand, but you can do things with the wand, as opposed to, what we get from Disney. It felt a little bit uninspired.
I'm gonna go ahead and say, wow. That's some tough criticism from someone who's usually a little bit of a cheerleader. And honestly, I'm disappointed because Oogie Boogie Bash was my litmus test for what a Disneyland After Dark. And it was DCA, but what a Disney After Dark hard ticket event can be. And it was amazing. Characters I've never seen before. The crowd was under control. It wasn't over the top. There was, the Redwood Creek with the villains.
The Villains Grove.
The Villains Grove was great. And so all of that stuff I look at and go, wow, Disneyland does it right. What it sounds like you had was a Disney World experience. That's what it sounded like you had, because when you're talking about you got to make your decisions of, do I want to like stand in line and wait for these characters? If so, there's my night. That's it. It's done. Like when you go to Halloween, a Halloween party at Disney World, at least it has been in the past years. If you want to stand in line to see Moana, and then you want to stand in line to see Jack Skellington, then you're done. Like that's it. You're gonna have to spend all night doing that. And it is disappointing to think about the treats. When I look back on these treats and I see some of this stuff, I think, oh man, this is why I wanted to be there. This, Baby Yoda shaped Dagobah beignets. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. This thing I don't understand though. This is a disaster, is what this is. It reminded me of those big Bloody Marys that they have at Epcot with like there's a chicken wing attached to it, but this doesn't make any sense. So it's the Baby Yoda sundae topped with a chicken nugget.
What the heck? How did I miss that?
It's a snacky sundae is what they call it. It's $10 for what I assume is just take a picture of it for Instagram and throw it in the trash, because it just looks horrible.
Leftovers, Rob. That's what they had left over in the kitchen.
Yeah,
what can we do?
Yeah.
Get some green dye. We can make this work. They'll never
Yeah.
know.
I do like some of the wordplay when it comes to Star Wars. The snacky mac, this macaroon or macron that they had. I loved when they would do Star Wars weekends and they had Admiral Akbar snack bar and things like that. So good. And then this one, like, try the dark stuff. It's Sith-licious. Oh, come on. Wordplay. Dad jokes for days, Coach. This is like right up your alley, buddy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, all these snacks being available all day, I get what you're saying. Like if they're available during the day, and you were there on the 3rd, not the 4th, right?
So I was in the parks. I had a park hopper pass on the 3rd. So I was in the parks all day on the 3rd, hopping back and forth between Disneyland and DCA. And then I was for Star Wars night on the 4th. And we did enter the park right around 6 when you could get in. So we were mixed in with day guests for a little bit.
Okay, I got it. So I'm going to go to Shannon on this one because I know you've been at some hard ticket events. Is what you read versus what you've just heard very different?
It's really sad. It's sad to hear that it is very reminiscent of Walt Disney World hard ticket events, and I hope that's not setting the stage for future Disneyland or DCA events, because I've heard nothing but amazing things about Oogie Boogie Bash. So let's hope they just get this, figured out before next May 4th.
I don't see it anymore because it's sold out, but do you remember what the ticket price was for this grand event?
So I bought my tickets back in 2020. So I was one of the people where like I bought the tickets, the park shut down, and Disney was like, we're not going to refund you, just wait, and eventually we'll get you in when we reschedule. So I was one of the reschedulers. I want to say I paid originally maybe $134, and I do think the price was slightly higher, but the reality is you're paying essentially a day ticket, just about to go to this special limited ticketed event. And so there needs to be something that's unique about it. And I will say the lines were not shorter. Maybe the shortest I saw was what you would expect. Like we walked on to It's a Small World, but that's because nobody was over there because no one cared about it at an event like this. And they were going to shut it down, right after 10 anyway, even though the event went till 1. And you saw that a lot. You saw a lot of the rides in certain areas start to kind of quietly close. And I would say, honestly, by 10:30, maybe 11, Batu was dead. But despite it being, pretty dead, which to me is surprising for an event like this, we still waited maybe 30, 35 minutes to get onto Smuggler's Run. We waited, unsurprisingly, maybe 45 minutes to get onto Hyperspace Mountain. And we beat a lot of the fireworks crowd, so I can't imagine, what those people waited in, and we didn't have the lightning lane situations. So, I think for me, it was just, like, I'm not someone necessarily who...
I think we've joked about it before that when you get too hot, I think that that YouTube goes, wait a minute, this is too much, because we were on a good roll there, and I think that you were getting pretty close to that. So
I I just will say this really quickly. I think for me, I don't feel like the bar is that high to please me, but I think what really kind of started the night on somewhat of a negative trajectory is when you have done all this promotion for like these treats, and like I was in Batu by like 10 p.m. The party technically didn't start until 9 p.m. And so how is it that by 9 p.m. Docking Bay 7 was sold out of like the little dessert treat, and then also the milk stand, which had the chocolate chip cookies that are supposed to be like the Gideons, those were sold out. And I don't know, like the vibes were just kind of off. Cast members seemed tired and not really that into it. It was cool. I saw Rey just kind of like wandering by herself in Galaxy's Edge. That was cool. But I need Disney to find a way to truly bring magic back into not just events like this, because I don't think there should have to be a paywall, but to me it reminds me of the fact that like you have these cool iconic castles and you really can only see them up close if you pay for these expensive dinners. Like there's just something that bothers me about all of this, and I really would like to see, Imagineers and just Disney find a way to bring the magic back into just exploring the parks. And when you think of like things that we've lost, like the sorcerer's cards, or some of those types of things, like those were interactive ways to be one with the park, and we just have lost so much of that. And if I see one more lightsaber, I'm gonna lose it, because all it was is a parade of lightsabers, and literally all you can do is like put them into the air. And if you think about it, like the lightsaber meetups, you literally, everybody like crowds around and you just raise your lightsaber. Like, it's not cool.
Counterpoint, I think it did look cool, but I don't disagree with you that there's really nothing else you can do with them. I think you're just jealous you don't have one. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
this is true. This is true. I mean, I do love my droid, though. I do love my droid. So but,
you spend $200 on one of these things. What else are you going to do with it other than go and like raise it above your head with a Luke Skywalker moment? I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I don't.
They need Jedi training.
But as we've seen with the Star Cruiser, you can't use these to fight. You got to have a different one to fight.
That's true.
So I don't think that's what can happen with these. When they first came out with the ones that they were making at Savi's, I remember looking online and seeing some people who were bringing up like different types, like the Black Series that you could buy, or the toy ones that you can get that look like the parking lot flashlights, and then these, and then like doing legitimate battles to see how long it takes to trash them. And as someone who spent $200 on one at Savi's when they were only $200, not $220, I was looking at this crying, like, what are you doing? It's kind of like the, when the guy that used to buy the Nintendo stuff and then smash it in front of everybody who was waiting in line. It's just like, you're just destroying this thing, but you can't actually have a fight with it. That's not what it's built for. So, but I don't disagree. I thought everybody raising the lightsaber looked cool, but then you're right. Like, that's one moment out of, an entire day. What's the deal with that? When I look at the Star Wars Night stuff, going back to that, I love the credentials that they put together, and mostly because I'm a paper hound and I go and collect anything that's paper and like, oh, I need that guidebook and I need that credential. Those all look pretty cool to me. But some of the stuff they did just for May the 4th on the East Coast, I thought were kind of cool too. Like the amorettes, the patisserie. I don't know if you guys saw these eclairs, but this is cute. Yeah, this is some awesome high-end stuff with the eclairs. I thought those were pretty neat. Each eclair is $8. If you want the box of 5, it's $32. Well, that, again, it's just for Instagram, right? Like, what are you really going to do with $32 worth of eclairs? I don't know, but they looked really neat. The other thing, and because I'm a sucker for it, is the Wishables. I was not expecting there to be a Wishables drop, and they did these for Smuggler's Run, which is one that I thought, in the past might happen. The droid, I never thought about being one of them for some reason, but they had the Porg and Hondo and the Millennium Falcon too. So that was a neat thing that those dropped when they did. Shout out to Allie who helped me procure some. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I will say also, when you left the event, the Star Wars Night event, they did hand out sets of pins. So there were 2 sets that they gave you that had 4 pins each. One was for The Mandalorian, and one was for the book of Boba Fett. So I had no idea, and it was funny because like the lady was like, "Go this way. The line is shorter to get out," and I was like, "What do you mean? Why is there a line?" And so but it was really just cross promotion. It wasn't even like something to May the 4th. It was just, hey, don't forget about these shows we have.
Well, you know what? Free is free, right?
I mean, yeah, I still took it.
I mean, and free is relative, though. I guess let me back up and say when you paid $134 for a ticket, anything, like I've said before, I will go and I will trick or treat through that freaking park to try to make up my ticket price and candy, or if it's an after dark event, eat way more popcorn and ice cream than I ever thought I needed to, just because, again, I want to make up. Go ahead.
So that was something else that was I noticed, and I couldn't remember. So there was no free food at all, no drinks, no popcorn, no ice cream that I saw. You had to buy it, and because I remember we went up to like a popcorn stand and like kind of thinking like, oh, is it going to be free? No, it wasn't. Nothing was free. And I will say this. I think so. In December I did an after hours event at Universal. I checked out their like Orlando Informer events, and it was just kind of night and day. And so I think that being the last thing I had to compare to kind of stuck with me. But yeah, I just everything costs money. You pay to pay to pay.
I'm going to pretend like you didn't say the OI thing just now. I'm going to pretend like that never came up and that we didn't have that conversation. But no, I get it. Yeah, absolutely. And you should be treated like, like royalty when you're at these things, because it's an expensive hard ticket that people who are super fans are going to, and they should respect that. I always loved the parties back in the day with like the Christmas party and going from stand to stand to get the hot chocolate and the cookie of choice, and the little things that they had, the fireworks, all that stuff. And it just seems like the value is going down and down and down on these events. And I really thought that Disneyland was bulletproof with this, and it's just kind of disappointing to hear that they're falling into the same trappings. So let's move on to talk about another place where Disney is going to get all my money, the Magicband Plus. I've been looking on like Shop Disney and on the Disney World's website when it comes to the Magic Bands, and their selection's getting smaller and smaller. So that makes me feel like these are supposed to come out soon. Now, as we talked about last week, they came out accidentally. Our reporters and some other people scooped them up, so we've been able to send people around to meant to do this, so that they could, they can play with them in the parks. But one of the things we heard is that, again, at this press event they had was annual pass holders and resort guests will receive a pre-arrival discount on the Magic Band. I'll be interested to see in what that discount is. I think it was like $10 or something like that for the Magic Bands before. So if you wanted one of the color Magic Bands, like a red, blue, green, they were $24.99 in the park. You could get them for $14.99 or something like that, or maybe it was $14.99 off, and you paid $10. I was always trying to get the arrival exclusives, so I'm paying $20-$30 for a Magic Band that used to be free. So who's the idiot? Right here. But one of the things that they did show in like the press showcases, and then our reporters were able to test out in person, is the interactivity that we were promised with the 50th anniversary statues. So you can go out and you take your Magic Band. We have a video of this, but you can go out and wave at the characters, and then the characters tell you something back. Is that worth the additional price for a Magic Band, Shannon, or are we holding out for something better?
Not that particular feature, but I am excited to see the other things that happen. I hear that there are going to be things that happen with the Magic Band in particular attractions or shows. The waving of the arm and the stationary Mickey Mouse just saying like, have a magical day. No, but the light is cute. You have to charge it. That's kind of a pain, but it does soften the blow, as you say, of having to pay, for a Magic Band. A little something.
One of the things that they did was they had a part of the presentation was that the woman would show them how this was going to work. And they had a Mickey 50th statue, and then she had to go back behind it and turn it on.
Yes,
and I was like,
I saw that.
I was like, oh, well, yeah, that's not really interactive if you're in there turning it on. I don't really know what's happening here, but people were trying. They're like, they're like waving at it and waving at it and waving at it, and you hear them going, "Oh gosh!" Like, okay, great. It paid off. We all looked like idiots for like 10 seconds doing this. Again, I'm with you. I'm looking forward to all of the things that this can do, more so than anything. And back to Kamila's point about the lightsabers, that they have some more interactivity in Batuu. We were promised a lot of gamification in Batuu that never really happened, and it looks like they're saying now, hey, you're going to actually get to have fun with the Magic Band and go around and be able to interact with things, as opposed to what you have to do right now, which is you have to pull up the Play app, you have to pull up your barcode scanner, you go and you scan things. I think that's
QR codes.
Yeah, it's just
what
really,
the kids are into, Rob. QR codes.
What's in that cup, Coach? That's really what I want to know. So
Salt. Lots of salt.
Yeah,
salt water.
I'm excited. Kamila, are you excited about the fact that Disneyland will be getting Magic Bands? Because I know you go there a little bit more often than we do.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll be curious to see how many people actually get them. I think it'll be something where if you are a Magic Key holder, I think they'll get them. But so many people stay off property at Disneyland as opposed to Disney World that I'll be interested to see like how many they actually sell out there.
Yeah, and to Shannon's point about the charging, that's going to be a thing too. They come with these chargers, which seems like that's pretty difficult. Beforehand, it was like, hey, they're going to last you 3 years on a battery or longer. And now, okay, well, now we're going to have to pay for it. Funny thing, I found this graphic a little bit while ago. We almost forget about how the Magic Bands looked originally. Aw, so cute. The 2013, the Magic Band 1.0, and then 2017, the 2.0, and then 2022, we get the Magic Band Plus. So I have way too many Magic Bands, and I don't know what I'm going to do when these others come out. Maybe I need to set a new policy that says I just get one, and that's it, and don't get all of them. But
you can decorate
it, Rob. This is great, though, Rob. The fact that it's charging, that you have to charge it, as much of a pain in the butt as it is, I think it's actually a good thing, because I think it means that you're going to have not just the vibrations and the haptic features of it. I think it just means it's going to be way more interactive. So that leads me to believe that if you have to charge this thing, that it's going to last you 3 days or whatever the life is going to be on it. There are different bands. Like I have a different, like a health band that I have to charge every 5 days, but it measures like everything, sleep and heart rate and all that other stuff constantly. So if we're charging this up, I'm hoping that means that there's a lot of interactivity they haven't released yet. And then my question is, it can't just be the statues, because are the statues going to stay there forever? And if they are, there needs to be more than that. So I think there's a lot of stuff they haven't rolled out yet. I'd hate to be the cast member that went, yeah, we should put these out. They did what? So I feel like a lot of it's been rushed in terms of certain statues don't work, other ones do. I think it's exciting. I think it's actually, maybe this is their improvement over what Magic Band should have been originally. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, Jake just pointed out to me, Coach, that apparently Universal Orlando Resort is trolling our chat. So, hi if you're out there. We appreciate you watching. They were talking about the woman going behind and turning on the Mickey Mouse, and it says, "We turn on the globe the same way." So, love that you guys are here. That's great. You couldn't have picked a better night. Anyway, so when I'm going back through and I'm looking at just Magic Bands in general, I just need to stop is what I need to do. And this looks like a good stopping off place or jumping off place for me. So, I mean, but again, I look at some of them and I go, oh, that one looks cool, or that one looks cool, or maybe I should get this one. I mean, somebody needs to put a stop to it, because between the Wishables and the Magic Bands and all this other stuff, I have some just legitimate problems, and I should probably be seeking help. Moving on to the next thing, Tomorrowland is in Disneyland, and I think we talked about this with Ali a little bit last week, because there was news that Tomorrowland in Tokyo is getting a new Space Mountain, and we were talking about how they're going to have to really kind of rearrange a lot of the aesthetic of Tokyo's Disneyland to be able to put that in, and it's going to look really cool. But it looked like it was supposed to exist in Tron Land, like our version in Florida. But then we started talking about how much work we need to be doing in Disneyland's Tomorrowland, because the People Mover track is still there that went to Rocket Rods, that went like just now it's just cover, I guess. It's really weird the way it sits up there. But we have some news or some rumor, I guess, that they're expected to announce at D23 this year that there's going to be an overhaul of Tomorrowland. And I think we've expected that announcement for years, actually. So, you know, the original, or the last time they redid it is when they put the Astro Orbiter at the entrance to Tomorrowland and kind of gave it one of those makeovers like we had on the East Coast with Tomorrowland. So I don't know if all of you guys have been there. Shannon, have you ever been to Tomorrowland and Disneyland? And if so, don't you think it's about darn time?
Oh, 100%. I love Tomorrowland in Disney World, and that's probably my favorite land in the Walt Disney World parks. Disneyland, I was so disappointed in that Tomorrowland. I wasn't really sure what was going on. What are you doing, Rob? But you're distracting me. But anyway, the Tomorrowland and Disneyland was very disappointing when I went to visit it for the first time. And I think that anything can make it look amazing at this point, and it definitely needs that refresh.
Yeah. I mean, that is a good question, Shannon. What am I doing? What is happening? What is going on? I usually know. I don't know tonight. Again, Kamila, you go there more than we do.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing Tomorrowland and Disneyland has going for it is Space Mountain, which is 100 times better than whatever that is in Disney World.
Ouch.
Burn that to the ground immediately.
Wow.
No.
But I agree. I agree. No, I think it needs all the help it can get, and I hope they announce some meaningful changes and not just cosmetic things.
Yeah, somebody woke up this morning and chose violence. So yeah, exactly, and we're here for it. We are honestly here for it. So thank you for bringing some honest opinions to the table tonight. We always look forward to that.
Takes the heat off of me, Rob. Takes the heat off of me a little bit.
It does. It does. But you know what, Coach? You're usually the cheerleader. So come on, except when it comes to Mr. C. Anything else, you're usually the cheerleader. So let's move on to this ground shaking thing. So when we were talking on ParksCenter last week, we talked about the whole sting operation they did in Florida, where they had the staff was stealing money from the hotel rooms, and I always said, inside the Disney bubble, I always feel so safe. And maybe I shouldn't. Maybe that, I shouldn't take for granted that it's Disney, and I should, I should tuck away anything that I don't want stolen, or that I should be worried that, if the staff comes in, or, just about anything like that. And then I'm like, you know what? It's Disney. It's fine. There's not going to be anything horrible happening at Disney. Disney pays $100,000 to a guest bitten by bed bugs at the Disneyland Hotel. What? I mean, there's a place south of the border. I don't know if you guys have ever been to it off of I-95. It is a tourist trap. That I would expect at south of the border. Sorry,
yeah,
I mean, I'm just, but Disneyland, especially at the Disneyland Hotel, and I guess this could happen anywhere, but at the Disneyland Hotel, it just seems like one of those things where, like, I can't imagine a hotel you have to pay more money for than the Disneyland Hotel. I'm sure they're out there, and Shannon, you've probably been to some that are more than the Disneyland Hotel. I have not. But I mean, it's expensive, and to hear this news, you're shaking your head. You've got opinions.
Yeah, because this is a PSA for everyone. Any hotel I go to, I don't care if I'm spending $75 a night or $750 a night. I do a bed bug check immediately when I get into any hotel room. Doesn't matter. I don't care if it's the Grand Floridian. I always check. Everyone should always be checking for bed bugs.
Well, that's just disturbing on too many levels, but probably a good PSA. The article or the quote says, "Bed bugs don't discriminate. They're found in hotels of all quality levels throughout the country and worldwide," said the attorney.
I'm also pretty sure there are registries that you can check where there have been incidents.
Yeah, my sister is that person. who looks up online the registry before she does anything. She's like, I checked the registry. Okay, cool. I don't do that, and maybe I should start doing that. Coach, do you do that at every hotel you go to?
I do check. It's a life lesson. It's a life hack.
That sounds like somebody who's been burned before.
Well, I also have a friend who works in kind of quality control for different hotels and things, and he actually gave me a portable. It's an RF detector. It does a bunch of different things. I can basically check and see if there's any cameras in about 3 minutes.
What?
So it's just something he gave me. It's like a spy thing, but it's something that people that rent out different, they do, different rentals and things like that at people's houses you can actually use, and it can actually scan for cameras and all that kind of stuff. And not in a Disney hotel, but I've actually stayed in hotels recruiting and things where I've actually discovered that there's been like cameras and outlets and all kinds of craziness. So not a paranoid thing, just a friend that it's in the business that just kind of said, hey, have this thing. And I'm like, what is it? And I think you can buy them for like $150 or something, but he gave it to me for free. And it's just a habit I'm into. I don't necessarily do it at a Disney hotel. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it's just kind of one of those things. So one of the odd things that we look at. So
well, that's one of those things. Again, you feel safe, right? Usually when you're going in there, you're like, okay, this is, it's a Disney hotel. It's going to be fine. Everything's fine. Yeah. This is sobering, I think. So, Kamila, any thoughts before we move on?
No, I agree with what everyone else is saying. Just to say, I really just think you're just never quite as safe anywhere as you think you are. At this point, there are just so many scary travel stories out there that I don't think it's something to focus on, but I hope that especially these big resorts are taking this seriously and they're vigilant. But, you have to be on your guard as well and looking out for yourself. But that's terrifying. I've known people that have stayed in like Airbnbs and gotten bed bugs, and it's just, and like to see it is, I mean, it's a lot of bites when you have those issues. And I understand how there could be trauma from it.
Yeah, they can get in your luggage. You can bring them home to your own house too.
Yeah,
like there's
like
a lot of stories of that. So the Airbnb stuff is just it's really easy. You can just do a quick Google search. It's just one of those things where that's why I like the DVC, because they only come in like once every 4 days, and I've got the washer, so I can just wash stuff and we're good.
I need to go to my happy place. Sorry, let me just give me a minute. I need to focus. I need to be in my happy place for just a second.
Do you need to go to the happiest place on earth? Or the most magical place, Rob? Which one would those be?
We'll talk about that post show.
Chapek doesn't know. Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that post show. We leave all the bashing to the post show for our friends, the Wigs. So let's move on real quick to this new scene that they're going to have in Fantasmic. So apparently they decided that the Pocahontas scene needs to go, and that they're going to bring in a new scene that, quote, has references to Frozen, Moana, and Aladdin, and it's Mulan, Elsa, Aladdin, Pocahontas, and more in, quote, heroic moments. You know what? At this point, I think we're all just happy to get Fantasmic back. It's such a big deal show. It's a people eater in Florida. It is a crowd pleaser in California, and I'm desperately anxious to see this. But, Coach, it's kind of like we talked about with some other things earlier. It's like it's always good to have something new in general to look forward to, right?
Yeah, I think the way to do it, and if you want to look at saving costs, look at the things that can need an update, look at the things that could be adjusted and modernized, right? We talked about this before, Rob, when you brought this up before, previous on another show, about how Disney's supposed to be the leader, right? We can't be reactionary. We need to be proactive with things. This is just an example where, okay, this scene needed to go probably much longer ago than it has. Make the change, call it an update, reimagining, whatever you want to do. Everybody's happy. It's everybody's just so excited that Fantasmic's back in general. Oh, did you see the new scene? It's amazing. I think it's you don't necessarily forget your history, but at the same time, we need to look at that and make sure we make the proper changes moving forward. So
yeah, Kamila.
Yeah, I'm just thrilled it's coming back. What a win, What a win.
Yeah,
100%.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip down to the next one though, and say we'll start with Shannon on this one. There was this thing that happened in, I think it was March of 2020, called COVID.
Stop.
And when it happened, people decided that the floor was lava and that they weren't supposed to touch anything or breathe anything or be near people. And then Disney put in a lot of plexiglass, and I never got to see Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway without plexiglass, so I don't know any better. Have you ever been there without plexiglass? Are you looking at this and thinking, thank goodness this is gone? Or are you thinking, why didn't they just leave it? Who is it hurting?
Oh my gosh, it's about time. It just ruins some of the atmosphere, especially in the queues, like Tower. Those Imagineers worked so hard in that lobby, and then you just throw up this cheap metal and plexiglass. This looks amazing. These pictures look fantastic. I think everyone's happy about this. Well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people are. I just hope that they're all gone soon.
The people or the plexiglass?
Both.
Okay.
For sure.
Well, and I think this is the end of it, right? I mean, I think they've pulled it from most every place and in the parks. I know that the place that hurt me the most was the Grand Fiesta Tour. When you never realized how
you had to
narrow.
Go sideways.
Right.
Yep.
You really never realized how narrow that queue was until they put up plexiglass, and you're like, what the heck? I mean, it just
was like
really
claustrophobic after that. It was like, I remember walked in there and I was just like, what the? We were like literally like shimmying sideways. My wife is like, what is going on? Is this? We didn't even know if we were on the right spot. We felt like we skipped part of the line. We were all confused. You're 100% right, Rob. It was very claustrophobic, and I am not that way. But I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and it is good because every little step toward like it being quote unquote normal feels right to me. Although, you know, obviously COVID is still an issue, but it's one of those that was gotten to the point now with everyone having vaccinations and having gotten it, and antibodies and all of those things, that we're getting to the point where it's just going to be part of what we do on a day-to-day, and hopefully will lessen, and people can manage it with the medicines and the things that are out there. But it feels like we lost 2 years of normal out of our lives, and it's just nice to be able to see something. Anytime something goes back, you just look at it and go, oh, thank goodness. Now, people still have the right. They can wear masks. That's great if they want to do that. You can wear. I was at a concert this weekend, and people were wearing gloves. So, I mean, I do think some people are still a bit concerned about it, and want to make sure to take care of themselves, and you do you. But it's nice that like you can have almost a normal experience now. You can hug characters. You can, there are buffets and things like that have returned that we thought would never return. And our good friend Patrick still is hashtag 6 feet forever. He wants there to be 6 feet around him at all times. And in Disney parks, we just won't experience that again. Before we move on, Kamila, any other thoughts on that?
I mean, I kind of agree that some of the changes in the distancing was kind of nice. Like if you experience the parks when it was like reduced capacity, or like you kind of when having space was a thing, that was nice. But I mean, as someone who recently came back from Disneyland with a cold, I will say the people in my travel party that did wear masks, they feel fine. The people like me who I did it like half and half the time. I've had a pretty rough couple of days, but I'm vaccinated. I hopefully I've gotten through the worst of it. So I think it's just kind of like anything else. Sometimes you travel and you get sick, and you manage it with medicine.
Well, and I feel like that sickness around in my bubble kind of waned off when people were, hand sanitizer every 18 seconds, keeping 6 feet away, checking temperatures, staying indoors, all of that stuff. And so you can't fight the fact that that's a reality, that, if you stay germ-free, you're going to be okay. But you also can't hide from life for too long. So it's nice that we can get out and we can do things, and you're going to get sick. It's a thing. It's part of life, and you just need to you need to baby it and treat yourself well. And we appreciate you coming on, even though you're not feeling so well tonight. So I mean, maybe you feeling not well created the virus that caused the problems earlier. I don't know. I'm not blaming you. I'm not blaming you. I mean, it could be one or the other. So. Anyway,
that's why I've been so truthful also. If it was normal me that was feeling better, I would just say it was great.
I mean, I don't want to say then this needs to be you all the time, but I mean, it's been really nice. We'll take you any way we can get it, Kamila. So thank you for being on. Let's talk about this. So, again, the legacy of this story is that the Finding Nemo, the musical at Disney's Animal Kingdom, was going to be closed. It never reopened after the pandemic started, and so people were guessing what was going to happen. And then we received some news that they were dismantling puppets and letting people go and dismantling stages and reported such. And then Disney's clapped back and said no, it's coming back. It's just going to be a little different. Then what we find is it's a brand new show. Like, the only thing it has in common is that it's got Nemo. So I mean, it looks very interesting. But it's now called Finding Nemo: The Big Blue and Beyond. It looks like it's really going to be more of a Dory story. A Dory story? Can I say that? Okay. But it's really, I mean, it looks interesting to me. But I feel like Kamila has some definite thoughts.
The one thing I just want to say, the most important thing about this show is that it's shorter, because 30 minutes or whatever it was before was too long. And I say that as someone who only popped in to take a nap and take advantage of AC. Like, I did not care about that show. And so now that it's shorter, I just am being honest here.
I agree.
Now that it's shorter, maybe it will be better.
What is with this jaded panel tonight? That's what I like. I usually look for Shannon for some of this sass, but the three of you together are a mob tonight, which again is fantastic. I love this, but I mean, I'm just saying. But let me just say this for me. I love the show. I thought it was great. I thought it was one of the cooler shows that they had. I love the air conditioning. We would go in and see it. It was fun. You guys are nodding your heads the wrong way because you're supposed to be going like this, not like this. I liked this show, but maybe it was a little bit long. Maybe that may be the case. But if you're looking for air conditioning, you want it to be a longer show than that, I would assume.
You know what was awkward about this show, though, is like you'd be like trying to take a low-key nap, but they walk through the aisles. And so you'd have to like wake up really quick to not look awkward or like get caught.
Listen to what you're saying. You know what's wrong with this show? They interrupted my nap. That's what's wrong with this show, is they just came too close, and I really needed... Oh,
Rob,
you know what?
I'm looking forward to a Touch of Nemo. Isn't that what this is? A Touch of Nemo or a Touch of Dory or something like that? Is it going to be similar to that, where it's like the show light? I just hope that my biggest thing is entertainment cast members got rehired or hired. That's what I'm excited about. These people deserve to be working. I don't care if it's about screens, if it means more people, more entertainment actors are employed, because we all know that the cast members are the magic, and there are too many people that just got, oh, it's coming back. It just kept dangling the carrot in front of them. And I'm sure a bunch of them kind of held hope it was going to come back. And then all of a sudden they read our site and they're like, uh-oh. So hopefully some of those same cast members came back. And that's what I'm excited
You know what?
about. Yeah.
What if they took some of the Kite Tales cast members, and that's why they had to end that, because they've got to go over and work this show?
Maybe.
It's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
As long as they keep working, that's all I care about.
Yep.
It's all puppets, you know?
Yeah. So you heard it here first. Kites and puppets are the same. When we heard this news, though, I think 90% of us went and thought of Tom Corliss, because Japan is easing their border restrictions in June, allowing for the return of international tourists to Tokyo, which, again, I feel like everyone I've ever talked to, including myself, was planning on going to Tokyo just before this all happened. Like, I literally was like checking out trips to go in June of 2020 and thinking, man, this would be a really cool time to go and finally get to see Tokyo Disney. Now, again, there are lots of great things to see in Tokyo. I should be talking about Mount Fuji or downtown Tokyo, but no, I'm talking about Tokyo Disneyland and Disney Sea. I can't not think of those two. But Kamila, I think you have a lot to do with travel. Do you think people are excited about this, the chance to finally go overseas?
I definitely think even much more than Paris, and I think Paris is great, but I think you're exactly right. Like, a lot of people have been waiting for Japan to reopen, and I'll be curious to see what the restrictions are, because I do think part of the overseas travel formula is is there any quarantine? Is there any testing? Because if you test positive, what does that mean for your return or your ability to kind of go further into the country? So that'll be something to keep an eye on. But just another positive return towards normalcy.
Yep. Shannon?
Yeah, I don't have anything else really to add to that. I know I'm not personally jumping at the bit to go to Japan anytime soon, but I would like to eventually. So this is definitely the first step in that becoming a reality at some point.
That's awesome. I love the idea of jumping at the bit. What is that exactly? Because I've heard champing. I've heard champing at the bit, chomping at the bit, but jumping at the bit's a new one for me. Maybe it's because the Derby was yesterday. I don't know. I'm here for it though. It's very exciting. No, I understand. I understand. Coach, when are you taking the kids over to Japan?
It would probably be more professional than the kids. I have, being involved with baseball, I have friends that are in the Japanese Professional Baseball League. So it'll be one of those things where I would shoot over. I had some plans to shoot out there, and then all this kind of happened. So when it dies down a little bit, it's tough to. For the 15th, for example, we're trying to go down, and my wife is like, you have to take all of us, right? You can't just go down for the 15th alone, because that'll be something you'll never live down. So we may be taking the trek in July and August. But I think Japan would be a tougher putt to try to sell to my wife. So if I could make it a work trip, then maybe I could sell that. So that's
Isn't it funny? I feel like we all do that, don't we? In some way, shape, or form, we try to sell the idea of Disney to our partners. We just go, let's see, how can I work this into a Disney trip? Let's see, and it's like this evil mastermind thing, okay, yeah, there's a place down there I need to go to, so let's figure it out. One of the things that is harder for me to do, it's hard enough for me to get to Disney World, but it's even harder to get to Disneyland. And now there's all kinds of reasons to go out back to Avengers Campus. For me, anyway. I think a lot of people are mixed on Avengers Campus, Kamila, about what they think of it and how excited they are for it. But there's one of the things I think is cool about it is the idea that when things happen either on Disney Plus or on the big screen, that they can act quickly and they can bring those things into the park. It's just something we don't see often, and I feel like they should be doing more of it for Star Wars. But it's just something that it seems like Marvel's thought ahead enough to say, hey, Avengers Campus will be a place where Avengers live, and that that could mean all the new ones. And so we saw recently Moon Knight made appearances, and now that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is in theaters, now we see America Chavez is making appearances, but only for a little while. And the same thing with Wanda as the Scarlet Witch is making appearances in the park as well. And so all of this is connected to Doctor Strange, even though there's not anything new with Doctor Strange himself. And then also they have this great merch, this things that you can go and take the spider bot and make it a Doctor Strange spider bot. I don't know why. That's weird. But then also this, because I am a sucker for a sipper. Woof. When I saw this was going, they were like, hey, the Doctor Strange sipper is coming. I'm like, what's it look like and when can I get my hands on one? It's kind of funny the way that it's set up. But again, instant immersion. Instantly, there's a thing you can go to in the theater today and tomorrow go into Disneyland and experience that thing firsthand. And again, I don't know if you're a huge Marvel fan, Shannon, if this is something that means something to you when you go and see this, but not really. Okay, let me rephrase it like this. Where would you like to see this kind of thing happen with Disney? Is it Star Wars? Is it being able to see Encanto immediately in the parks?
Yeah, I think Encanto. I actually enjoyed Encanto more than I expected to, since I've been a little disappointed in some of their recent films. And it kind of sounds like Lin-Manuel Miranda is getting that push through, which is great, having an actual actor pushing something for Disney to get done. So yeah, we'll see.
Lin-Manuel 2024. I'm here for it. Then if he can make things get things done in this company, who knows what he could do for the country. I don't know where I'm going with that. So Kamila.
Yeah, I think Avengers Campus, the triumph of it truly is how they're using it with the characters. And what's cool is no matter, when you decide to just walk through there, even if you're just cutting through to, get to a different side or another ride, you will see characters, and you'll see them just casually walking around. You'll see them taking pictures, doing meet and greets. And, that's really cool. And I also will say, I think at night, it's really stunning. Like, I think it is, I wouldn't say as well done as Cars Land at night, but I think it's definitely worth going back at night if you haven't done that. I hope they figure out a way to bring more, though, still. I mean, they have some kind of little shows, like Spider-Man does a show. They do have some things that go on from time to time, but if you're not really that into characters, they really don't have a way to kind of invite you into, the Avengers just as characters otherwise. And so you kind of have to know to really appreciate it. And even me, like I've seen most of the movies, but I don't pay enough attention to always know, who that is there, to be honest. So I think it's a work in progress. And another example of, I just hope they continue to build on what they have.
Okay. I'm a nerd through and through, and so Marvel superheroes is a thing. When I see him, it's like, it's a Black Panther. Oh my gosh, like there he is. It's like, it's Moon Knight. I mean, I get excited about stuff like that, so I love that they've started to do that. But it goes back to what you said earlier about stop giving me another food item and another thing to look at. Like, give me something real. And I do think the character interactions and the shows they put together, the little stunt shows that happen around you, are a little bit of that, but that's not what we're seeing here with these characters, I don't think. I think we're just kind of seeing them come out and, interact with people and then walk away. So I agree with you. I think there needs to be more there. I think that it's an amazing intellectual property to own Marvel and these, $1 billion worth of movies that they keep releasing, and so we should see more of that. But I'm happy to have something, but it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Shannon, about just give me something. And like you were talking about with Epcot, you're so used to looking at the dirt, and now they're giving us something. You're like, yay! So I mean, I'm excited to see anything there, and can't wait to go back to that. So speaking of things people can't wait to go back to, Kite Tails. Anybody here a fan of Kite Tails?
I think it's cute. I thought it was cute.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I am.
Okay.
I am in a way, like when you drive by like something like a car accident where hopefully nobody got injured.
Okay, all right. Fine.
Oh, wow, it's so bad, it's good.
Like a train wreck, like a dumpster fire. Is that what you're saying here? No.
Well, I think some things are so bad they're good. There's like that movie Curve where it's like
say it to his face. Say it to Simba's face. Tell him
before he crashes into the people.
So what we've seen is like there's going to be like. So it seems like Kite Tails is changing the way they have these performances. They're not really having show times anymore. It's just going to be a thing where it's like you turn around and there's Kite Tails. Whereas before you had like the boat come through and get everybody pumped up, and then you had like the actors bring the things in between, the puppets on the stick, and then you had the big huge kites. And I think it's neat only because, again, back to the whole it's better than nothing. Like there's this huge amphitheater that takes up so much space in Animal Kingdom, and there's nothing going on. And Kamila, you can't tell me that it's not better to have kites than nothing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I will say, like, I actually caught the show during a time when we were ready to exit the park and head over to some dinner reservations. And we had heard the music earlier in the day, like while we were in line for Everest. And we were like, you know what? Let's go sit over and just watch it. And it was really nice. It's songs that you know and recognize, characters that you know and recognize and don't always see, especially in the case of the Jungle Book. It's perfect for Animal Kingdom. There's something to my theory about the puppets, like that being the part that they're removing. I think they're going to go work for Nemo now. And so, they're going to go that way. But so it's easier for them to just bring them out from time to time because now it's like truly just like the jet skis and the kites, which it takes away from the benefit of the amphitheater, but still fun. Still fun. I did like the show, though, and I think it's unfortunate to see it go.
Okay. And Shannon, define your meh response to this.
I'm just not trying to sit out there in the blazing heat and sun with no shade reprieve at all, praying for a cloud to pass by. That's all. It's cute, though.
No shade except for the shade you're throwing. Fine. It's fine. It's all fine. I watched both those shows, though, and again, it was probably October, so it wasn't really like, the heat of the summer. I can't imagine laying out there and baking in July, but yeah.
That's true. I saw it in December, so same thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice to have something out there. I do think it should be a nighttime show. I mentioned this last week that it should be a World of Color clone.
Yeah.
That should be there, and then maybe have the amphitheater open for people to hang out and maybe, for gosh sakes, I don't know, throw up a canopy. I don't know. It's just a thought.
What a concept!
I know, right? So let's talk about Tony's, because if you are a fan of the blog wdwnt.com, if you are a fan of News Tonight, you know that there is not an older joke in our repertoire. Maybe the whole seven joke, but then Tony's Town Square. It was one of my favorite bits. There was a fake commercial parody that Tom did early on. That the tagline was, "Come taste what the guide map is calling Italian food." And I was just like, that's hilarious. That it doesn't get any funnier than that. And yet they made some changes. There were some 50th anniversary items available at Tony's, and they removed them from the menu, which again, I don't know that was anything horrible. But then they've introduced some new items, and so the headline here surprised me when it said, "We tried the entire new menu and it wasn't awful." That's actually the highest praise I think that I've ever heard them give Tony's Town Square. Now, when my daughter was little, she used to love going here because she loves Italian food. I think most little kids do, because it's noodles. That's what that is, and bread, and that's great, and that's themed around Lady and the Tramp. There's not a lot of Lady and the Tramp themed stuff out there, so that's kind of neat. But it's one of very few sit-down restaurants in the Magic Kingdom, the most crowded of all. And the fact that it was, like people just went, this isn't really good. I don't know. Shannon?
Yeah, I'm happy to see this restaurant get some love, because it is in a prime location, and the restaurant itself is adorable. I've always loved the interior of that restaurant, so I think elevating the food to kind of match that experience is long needed.
Yeah, I like the description right here where it says the shrimp isn't fishy. So there you go. Coach, have you gone to Tony's, or are you pro, con? What's the deal?
I am pro it becoming Tiana's place. I've not shied away from that. I believe that should be rethemed to the movie that has a restaurant in it as the base of the theme. Just a thing. No, it's you got to love a review when they go, most of the food was edible. Basically what Tom said. That's the recap of the, and he's like, I would actually eat this. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's definitely they're trying. I think this is a case of it's been so bad that now it's only kind of bad. So now it's like, wow, they're making an attempt. But meanwhile, there's been just years of people just going in and going, I'm never eating there again. It's just such a prime location that you would think that they would put some kind of effort into the menu, and at least they're doing that. Hopefully the feedback they get for some of the stuff that he tried, where it was just like, this is weird. That was my favorite part. He's eating it, he's like, it's this weird consistency, and he's just like tapping his spoon on top of it, and it won't go through. It was hysterical. But it's just like, he's like, this, I feel like this should be light and fluffy, but it's not. I just hopefully that they'll go through and they'll see that feedback and go, all right, it's better. Because if you're willing to make a change one time, hopefully they'll continue to refine it. But I still think it should be Tiana's place.
And when I look at this picture, it looks kind of amazing, and at the same time, the text around it says, the red dust tastes artificial, the top mousse is fruity, the texture of the top mousse is just fine, the chocolate is also fine. Altogether, it makes for an off-putting combination.
Okay.
Lovely. I've honestly never had what I thought was a bad meal at Tony's, and again, had to eat there because my daughter would choose it. I usually would say, hey, everybody gets to choose one place they want to go. And that was usually when she was little, that was the place she wanted to go. And then until I was told it was awful, I didn't think it was awful, but, I do like, as far as Italian restaurants go, I think Mama Melrose, I probably like that one better than this one. Via Napoli feels more traditional. So there are better ones out there, but I never thought it was horrible. But it's good to see that there's some positive feedback from that. One last story that I wanted to talk about, which I think is pretty cool, is that, and I don't know, you were just out in California. I don't know if you saw this or not, Kamila, but something that people skip a lot, I think, in Disney World is the Hall of Presidents. We've talked about, is it outdated? Is it too divisive? Should it go? To me, I always thought it was one of those untouchable things because it was the Hall of Presidents. It was what Walt originally wanted. But this is one of the original 1964 World's Fair attractions, the Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. But now they've added this Frederick Douglass display to it. In the Opera House. So I think this looks amazing. I love that there's more to the history being shown here, in here. And just when you read through it and just see what a great man he was, it's like this, and how instrumental he was to the cause. It seems like, why wasn't this there from the beginning? But I don't know if you got to see this when you were out there or not, Kamila.
I missed it, and I didn't know about it, and I'll be honest, that's an attraction in an area of the park that I usually skip. But I will say, I definitely think, whether it's in Epcot or Disneyland or Magic Kingdom, I think you have to keep those touches of American history, because I think Walt so clearly loved and was so passionate about the story of America, and he wanted it to be told in his parks. And I feel like we talk so much about, what can be changed and what can go. And I've been it's a theme park. It's not a museum. I love Space Mountain, but if you have to change it, change it. That's not that big of a deal to me. But I do feel like something like this is real history, and it's truly something that he was actually, around for. And we know that it was important to him that these bits of American history and Americana, be implemented throughout the parks in all these different ways. And so I do think that's important that it stays. And, maybe from time to time, like kind of like what they do in the American Pavilion, they bring in different collections and they show them off, like how they had the jazz collection and all of that. But I think in some format, that kind of all of this stuff, I think that's one of the few areas where it's like, that has to stay, because if you know anything about Walt, you know how much he loved, Main Street and just that classic Americana story.
Yeah. I've always told the story that when we would come into the Magic Kingdom, and it's a little bit different, that we would always have to turn right into the Walt Disney story that used to be on Main Street, and my dad would insist that we start there so that we could see the history of how that place came to be, and the man and the things that happened behind the scenes with that. And I hated it as a kid. Like, it was like Space Mountain. It's right down there. Why are we here? Space Mountain.
What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. What are we doing? Now I go back and look at this stuff, and I really appreciate it, especially, again, the history of the fact that this came from the 1964 World's Fair. The fact that Walt admired Abe Lincoln so much, and now to, like, plus it out with this Frederick Douglass, display, I think is a great thing. And it's there for people who want it. And then for people who don't want to see it, they just keep on walking by and head down Main Street and go get in line for Indiana Jones. And
honestly, I was just gonna say, what are they going to replace it with? Another shop with the same merch that is across the street?
That's what they replaced it with a meet and greet on Main Street with the with the Walt Disney story. Yeah, Walt was okay, but man, you can go meet Magician Mickey. So why wouldn't you do that instead? I don't know. I get what you're saying, but one thing that I've learned through this, through all of the following of Disney that I've done over the years, is that I used to think things were, like you said, it's not a museum. I used to think some things were classics. That's what makes it different than Six Flags and some of the other places, is that some things are classics, and change them when they need to be changed, upgrade them, but they're still there. whether it's a small world and adding the characters, or the Jungle Cruise and taking out some of the things in Jungle Cruise, or changing the scenes in Pirates. Those things still exist and can be shared from generation to generation, and hopefully in a better version as we learn more as a people and a culture. So that's, I like that those things are still there, but I always thought that something like the Hall of Presidents would stay forever, and I think there are enough people who look and say, I'm not sure this needs to be here anymore. So I hope Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln stays. I hope that that's still a thing, because that one seems more important than the Hall of Presidents, because it had Walt's touch, it was original, and it's history within history. So before we say goodbye, I have one last thing that I wanted to mention that wasn't on the docket, but I have to ask, because this is one of the dumbest things I think I've ever seen, is that there is a puppet theater that you can buy.
Oh gosh.
There's a puppet theater that you can buy in the parks, and while it's kind of cute, it's $80, and are you gonna lug this thing around? I mean, why are they selling these in the parks, and who's buying them? Coach, are you out there buying this thing for your kids?
No. This is weird. This to me is always when I go back to my parts where there needs to be like an adult in the room. Like we talked about May 4th, and like you sold out of specialty treats. You had no idea based on previous sales what you thought you were going to sell. Like you have spreadsheets for everything else, but you don't have spreadsheets for things called projections and potentially regressions. Like this is not hard. This is not. So someone thought this was a great idea. This had to get through multiple channels to get approved, and someone said, "You know what would be great? We need a puppet show, a box the size of a small television that everybody carries around." Like some of the decisions you make, you just kind of go, "Doesn't it seem like a Shop Disney thing? Like why would this be in the parks?
Right.
Why if you really want it, buy it and get it shipped to your house."
First time I saw it was at Disneyland, and they were all over the place, and I was just like, "What? An $80 puppet thing?" And it's not even like really great. I don't know. Maybe. I love the fact that it's a creative toy, and it includes. I mean, it encourages kids to be creative, which we don't really do anymore, because we go, hey, here, like we go, hey, here's this, here's this
video.
Yeah, go play. So I do like that it's creative, but I mean, it's so huge, and the idea of like I'm just waiting to see someone schlepping this thing down Main Street. I don't know. I just saw it and I thought it was ridiculous.
I mean, I feel like that's how I feel about the lightsabers, though. I feel like the biggest reason why I don't have one is because I usually fly in, whether it's Disneyland or Disney World, and I just don't. Like, I've heard too many horror stories about people breaking it. Even just like I have the Space Mountain cookie jar, getting that home was a nightmare. Or my droid, I had to buy the backpack because I didn't know how to explain that to TSA otherwise. So I feel like so many of these things, it's one thing to want it and to buy it. It's another thing to figure out how to get it to your house.
You know what? It would be really neat is if on some special day, everyone who had a puppet theater would bring it into the park and hold it above their heads.
Puppet theater meetup
during the fireworks, so no one could see. That'd be great.
That's right. That's right. That'd be amazing.
Instead of cell phones and iPads, it'd just be giant boxes, and it'd be like people looking around, going around, like, what's going on? So supposed to be projections. I can't see anything.
Before we get out of here, I had a couple things to talk to you guys about real quick. One of them is Carousel Product. We have a new shirt. The sci-fi button-down shirt, which I have this beautiful screen grab of Tom wearing it last week on News Tonight. This is something that we only made a limited amount of them, so these are custom-made shirts, and everyone who's had one has been very excited about it. Anybody who bought them locally has been really excited about it. One of the other things is this shirt for Earth Day was in honor of our friend Rebecca, the male black swan. They passed away, and so in honor of Rebecca, we're going to be donating all the proceeds to the Disney Worldwide Conservation Fund in support. We only have small and large left in this one because this one is almost gone, so if that's one that you guys were interested in, make sure to check that out on carouselproducts.com right now. And as always, we'll have more products coming in soon, so keep an eye on it. Some really fun stuff on there. And then also thank you to our WIGS members who are with us tonight, and hopefully you guys held out through some of the glitchy times, through the good times, the bad times, the glitchy times, and the not. thank you guys for being there. We love our Wigs members. We have a post show tonight for you guys right after this. Unfortunately, I think Kamila's got to bail out because she is not feeling well. So thank you, Kamila, for being with us tonight. But if you want to learn more about our Wigs members, or how to be one, go to patreon.com/WDWNT. Also, continue to check us out on ParksCenter every Sunday night at 8 p.m. And next week's episode will be glitch-free guaranteed. So thank you guys on the panel for being here. I appreciate you, and thanks to Eric and Annie for being on earlier. Happy Mother's Day again to all the moms out there, and make sure to make sure to join us again real soon. Any other parting thoughts, guys?
What is bye-bye?
Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Take care.